You ever touched a human brain?
Touched the rat brain before.
Use a glove. Touch the rat brain. You touched the rat brain?
Yeah.
True story?
Pig brain.
Yeah, rat.
Pig brain?
We used to
Pig
do
brain.
frog.
We did a frog. We did a pig and a shark.
A shark brain. Who had the biggest brain?
Pig.
A pig.
That's
Porky
scary.
brain.
It was a lot bigger than the frogs.
What grade was that?
8 maybe.
We weren't at
No,
pigs.
no. The shark was 6th.
Wow, that's
6th grade.
seems young to me.
It was young. Nobody really cared
Yeah.
what was going on.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just like, ooh, shark.
I mean, rats the biggest.
But it was not a very big shark. It was a very small shark.
Small shark. I had an opportunity to touch a human brain,
I would pass
somewhere
on
in Seattle.
You just gave him a ride to the hospital instead.
I was like, I don't know how old I was, probably 8 or something. But it was some convention going on, and art and music and people vending, and they had some educational booths set up. About I don't really remember all the details, but I remember one person standing there with gloves on, and I think they might have had like a lab coat or something, and like a brain. It was like, yeah, this is a human brain. You can check it out. And
Yeah, I would have had to pass.
And I was just like, whoa, that's okay. Yeah, it's a brain.
I think I've seen one in like a jar or something, like suspended in some liquid of some kind. I don't know. It was like a
horror movie,
like a Ripley. It's like a
Stars Mansion.
It was like a Ripley's Museum, or
I could see that.
Yeah.
Oh, Ripley. They got some wild
types of stuff.
In there, you find like 2 brains that have fused together, and
for real. Yeah.
Rats that share a common tail.
You would find that in Ripley's. I need to go to Ripley's.
Good old Myrtle Beach.
I think there's one in Atlanta.
We need to visit Ripley's and have an episode about our visit to Ripley's.
That is a good idea.
No, I know there's one. There's a Ripley's up near Pigeon Forge, I think. And then I'm almost certain there's one in Orlando.
Yeah. Where's Pigeon Forge?
Tennessee.
Okay.
There was one in Myrtle Beach.
Between here and Knoxville.
Okay. Tennessee's nice.
I've always wanted to go somewhere in Tennessee versus just driving through.
If I remember right, the Ripley's in Orlando is like it's an upside down building.
It sure is. That's pretty cool. I've never been, but I've seen it.
Yeah. Now that y'all mentioned that, I remember that. I've been to the one in Orlando. It was a long time ago. And I remember they had like some big, I don't know if it was a statue or they stuffed him or what it was, but like super tall guy.
I can see that.
He was well taller than 7 feet. I don't remember how tall he was. And all kinds of stuff in there. I need to go again though. It's been like long enough that I've probably forgotten like 80% of the stuff that I experienced there.
Right.
I'm gonna plan something.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older, I've been wanting to go to the Epcot Center. Like those, like the place, like I don't want to go there. But now it's like
I think the last time I was near there, Epcot was closed for some reason.
Being boring.
Being boring, or they were changing it up. I know it hadn't changed. Read something somewhere it hadn't changed in like several years.
Okay.
The content was the same.
We went once.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever been to Epcot.
I went once, but I don't remember. It was in the 90s.
I do remember they had it was like an arcade.
That's
like
right.
Huge arcade. And
We're old.
Yeah. Arcade was cool. That was the cool part about it.
Yeah.
The title of today's episode is Are You Well? And it's an important thing to consider. Think about, are you well? Not just, are you physically well? Do you work out? Do you exercise? This stuff helps.
Mm-hmm.
But, your brain, are you well?
Yeah.
Do you take the time for yourself? Do you get enough sleep? Do you slow down and try to erase all the stuff that's going on at once and try to wind it back and catch yourself
it's interesting too because you can do a lot of those things, but then you also there's also like decisions, like choices, like the control. You make decisions that after the decisions are made may control what type of an environment you're in or what type of close relationships you have, which can be good and bad, anywhere in between for
Decisions
your
like,
mental health.
like what kind of decisions?
Where you work,
Yeah.
where you live.
Absolutely.
Where you work, where you live, maybe even how far you live from where you work.
Where you go to lunch today.
Where you go to lunch, sure thing.
Where you have to go after you leave work.
Yeah.
There's so many things that really just facet into our health, and every decision we make is a huge factor.
Yeah.
Which road you take to get there?
Which road you take to get there?
When we swapped out that tire on your car, couldn't get on the highway. We took the slow road back. It's pretty.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It was a different experience than the highway. The highway, especially close to a holiday, was hectic.
Oh.
Cars all over the place. Got
Yeah.
one guy on a motorcycle, not caring much about his brain because it was going to end up scattered somewhere.
I saw some of that. Not scattered brains, but the carelessness on a motorcycle. Yeah.
Down closer to where I'm at, helmets aren't required.
That's crazy.
Okay.
And it's unsettling to see people. I mean, I know the people who do it will say like, "Oh yeah, I feel comfortable doing it," but I have friends who have died on motorcycles. I have family who have limbs bolted back together from motorcycles. They're no joke. I think in Florida, the statistic was that every time you left the house on a bike, on a motorbike, you had a 10% chance of not surviving that day.
Wow. It's 1 in 10. You go out 10 days, you're done. Statistically.
That's tough. No riding bikes in Florida.
It's terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I mean, I know it could be pretty crazy driving a car in Florida. So
and it's not necessarily the biker's fault. It's just it just tends to be a lot of people that don't pay attention when they're driving.
Yeah.
In Florida, Florida's a kind of a melting pot. You have people from all over the country and people from other countries that have settled in Florida. A lot of elderly people. That's true.
Yeah, retirement state.
Mm-hmm. That's where defensive driving comes in.
Got to be defensive. Yeah. It's not enough to just drive safely.
My defenses are 2 extra wheels.
2 extra wheels. Yeah. That helps.
All fours.
I'm going to need to get a dually just for a couple extra. But it's a crazy driver. So yesterday I was on the highway. It was nuts. I mean, first thing I noticed is motorcycle. He gets up, he rides real close behind me, and he's kind of in between the lanes, in between 2 lanes. And I'm just keeping an eye on this motorcycle in the rear view because I'm like, I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to try to floss through cars or, some kind of keeping an eye. And he goes on by some ways later. And he gets in the exit lane and just guns it. Disappears. And I'm driving, and then I get onto another highway. And as I switching lanes to get off the entrance ramp onto the highway, I'm not on there for, maybe 10, 15 seconds, and I'm seeing small cardboard boxes flying through the air. And they're like these elongated boxes. I don't know if they used to have posters in them or what, but they're just these brown cardboard boxes, and they're floating through the air. And they seem to just be spreading out. They're in the left lane. They're in the center lane, the right lane. I don't know if there's in the far right lane, but, so everyone's on the highway, and they're driving like they're on Mario Kart, like trying to dodge these boxes. And I'm like, this is nuts. And you couldn't even tell where they were coming from. There's somewhere up ahead, some boxes were flying out of someone's truck. And so I got close enough to where I saw it was this big truck, and just had boxes just I don't know how many boxes they had in the truck. They just kept coming.
A lot less than they started with.
Yeah, a lot less, for sure. And, okay, so I passed that. And then I get onto another highway to, I had to go from highway to highway to get to where I was going. And just soon after I get onto that highway, this is all on the same trip, I see a guy pulled over on the side of the road. He has a lime green vest on, high visibility vest, and a truck. And then right after I see him, there's a big metal wheelbarrow in the middle lane of the highway, just sitting there like it, fell off from somewhere. And so I get over again,
It's an obstacle course.
I'm like, ooh, you don't want to hit that wheelbarrow. That'll be bad.
Very.
And I'm like, what's going on today?
Which makes for a good topic if we were to discuss it, why we road rage.
Rage.
My wife just took a defensive driving class, and the instructor was talking about people just wanting to drive fast and get somewhere at a certain time when it's like we don't have to rush. I kind of look at it a little bit differently. I feel like a lot of us may experience road rage because it's the fact that when we're on the road, someone could be putting my life in danger. And then it just causes you to become angry because it's like you didn't consider me. You didn't consider who was in my car. You didn't consider yourself. And so it drives us to this point of like angry. And I feel like some people have never really experienced a certain kind of anger. But when you're in your car, it's kind of different. Like it just builds in you. And I know for myself, if somebody like makes me mad while I'm driving, this one of the angriest moments I can get. It's like, what are you doing?
I used to be bad. I probably got that from my mother. But I've gotten a lot better. I tend to be pretty stoic.
Yeah.
And traffic situations used to anger me because I didn't put myself in their position. I didn't think about what's going on in their head. It's important to remember they don't care about you. They're not thinking about you. They got something else going on. They might have somewhere they really need to be. If somebody's really trying to get by me on the highway, I'm not trying to choke them from using the passing lane. They might be on the way to the hospital.
Oh yeah. I
don't know. They might have got a call. Somebody might be breaking into their house. I don't want to stop that.
Right.
I don't want to slow that down. I don't want that to lead to any violence or anything like that. But it's better just to let them go. You can get right back to what you were doing in seconds.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah,
so many different things. And
unless they pull in front of you and then go really, really slow.
Yeah, that does. Like, I feel like we all have this thing called a comfort speed. Like, I want to go the speed I want to go. Please don't interrupt it. Like, this is my comfort.
Internal cruise control.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in most cases, we're only driving short distances. Even if somebody slowed you down by a couple miles per hour, it really is not going to make a big difference in your arrival time.
Yeah. You meet them up at the light as you get off the exit.
Yeah.
Blew by it going 103, and there you are.
Yeah. Hey. Speedster.
But that's, you had the donut on the car. You can't go highway speeds with the donut on your car, although I see plenty of people doing it.
Yeah,
the tire's not designed to go that fast.
I was pushing close to 50. I didn't go over 50.
Which is good.
Yeah,
the tire's designed to do. You don't want to push it and have a flat donut because you had a flat tire.
Well, maybe they should make performance donuts.
A little bit bigger.
Just because you got a flat doesn't mean you still don't want to drive the way you want to drive.
True.
Need full-size spare.
That's what that is, right?
That's a performance donut.
It's taking up space in the car.
But we took the back roads, and it took almost twice the time. But one difference when you're on the back road, besides, when you're on the highway, you're supposed to be doing 70 miles an hour, and everything's just flying by. Everybody is reckless. You're hyper focused. Unless you're half the people that I see, you're hyper focused on your phone. Mm-hmm. But you're hyper focused on the road. You don't really notice anything else. When you're on the back roads and you slow it down, you see the green.
Yeah.
And you see, you notice the blue in the sky if you're lucky enough to have one of those days. Mm. And you see people walking a dog, and you see, old classic car sitting in somebody's driveway.
Oh, yeah.
But the priorities change a little bit. Things are a little bit different. When you slow down, your mind slows down too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I really enjoy the houses. Different architecture. Kind of takes me into a different place. Cause I feel like that's something, if I would have been younger and knew that's something I wanted to do, that's probably a route I would have went with my life.
Architecture.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love architecture. If I could somebody just give me a tour of their houses, I would do it. Be in awe.
You can still do it.
Yeah.
Last time I went to school, not last time, when I was going to school, get my first college degree, and I was in the mill hall. They called it Argiro at the time, and there was a lady in there that I met. She was a student, and she was in her 90s. I think she was like 96 or something. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm starting my new career as a teacher." I was like, "Wow." Mm. She's in her 90s.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't have no excuse for nothing.
Right. So will and passion.
Yeah.
I saw an article, some online news outlet, I don't remember, but there was a man who graduated, and they were pointing out that they had a collage of all of his graduation pictures, and there's like 15 or 20 pictures.
Okay.
Of all the times that he's graduated, all the, the high school, and then there were all degrees after that.
Oh,
he got
graduations.
Got degrees in like everything, but no job.
No job.
All these degrees. You got all these degrees.
Keep him warm.
Yeah, it's like Buckminster Fuller or something. Goodness.
I can't do it. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Power to him. I hope he finds whatever happiness he's looking for, whatever joy it is that he gets from that. I hope it's something real.
What's that college debt look like though? Looks like lottery numbers.
I think that might be it. I think as long as you're in school,
yeah,
your college debt is deferred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe he just saw the bill from the first one and he's like, "Oh, we're just going to stay in school."
Well, just getting a bunch of scholarships. You'll find all the scholarships.
Point it out.
Your last name and
that's all right.
Writing essays.
That's all right. Yeah.
10 doctorates over again.
They shouldn't even call it doctorate after you get in that many. They need like another title.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure people would go if there was a different title. Like, I get to stack something else on this.
I don't know what it'd be. Like
God. God tier.
Get the whole alphabet after his name.
Yeah.
I don't understand. So once I completed school, I was done. Everybody talks to me about going back, but I almost feel like I loathed the process of just being in a classroom, having to go every day.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, if you want to do a career that requires a professional degree, you have to go to college. You have to get a professional degree.
Yeah.
Unless there's a back door where you can get experience instead. But a lot of things don't require degrees. Degrees are really, I feel like, I don't know this for sure, I feel like a lot of people just look at degrees, like you need a degree to do this, But if it doesn't matter what the degree's in,
Mm.
is it just there to prove that you have some sort of discipline, or is it just there to prove that I'm willing to take on all this debt?
Mm. Yeah. Taking on debt, making big decisions
Right.
at 19.
I don't think you should be judged on decisions that you make at 19.
Right.
You know,
salary loans.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not too harshly anyway. Still got a little bit more time for brain development at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess until you let it go, your brain continues to develop in some ways for a long time.
Yeah, that's also true. There's a part of the brain, or a part of brain development that leads to better decision making, and they say the professionals in the brain world say that that happens around, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 2024, somewhere around there. And so that's generally where, people start to make better decisions, based on their brain development.
And all of our brains are different.
Yeah.
They've cut into people's brains and measured different portions of the brain and found that this critical thinking sector of the brain was larger in this person,
Yeah.
resulting in a smaller fear department of the brain, whilst this other brain had the larger fear center, the amygdala, maybe.
Yeah.
While the critical thinking portion of their brain was smaller. And that seems like a pretty crazy combination of being more scared of things and less able to process information.
Yeah. But maybe also overthinking things less. Maybe that person maybe I'm just thinking here, the person may be more action oriented. They may see a situation and be able to make a decision and act on it, where somebody else is like, I need to think about this for a little while. Well, if I do this, well, what about if I do that?
Certainly.
And it's interesting to think about because just in saying that, I started college when I was 17 and I finished by the time I was 21. So you bring up the fact of development at 24, and some of us end up finishing college before we even finish developing. So that's interesting, really, when you really think about it.
Yeah, it is. And taking on all that debt.
Yep. Thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But even with the brain anatomy, even judging brain anatomy on how certain things measure up, that's mostly something that's completely out of your control. There's a lot of stuff in your life that is in your control that you can is very important to your mental well-being. We want to touch base on mental well-being, and we want to make it more mainstream. We want people to think of mental well-being the same way they think of physical well-being. It's about fitness. It's about being healthy. It doesn't have to be about mental problems. It doesn't need to be a negative thing. When you think of mental wellness, mental health. When people think of mental health, at least, for me, for a long time, I think of mental health, my brain goes straight to mental health problems.
Yeah.
Not necessarily mental health as far as maintaining good mental health or, improving mental health, above the baseline.
Yeah. Like optimization and mental hygiene.
Mental hygiene. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to wrap your head around.
Mental hygiene is interesting because it could be just finding balance in something that you do that's stimulating, You might enjoy playing video games or a certain activity, and mental hygiene might be like, okay, I'm gonna have a certain amount of time for that, but then I need also time for something else, you know, different type of stimulation, different type of rest and relaxation for the brain, and just being aware, um, of what's happening with your brain. If I'm stimulated all the time, I'm gonna need some time to unwind at some point and be not so stimulated and allow an element of we could say relaxation to occur or deloading to occur.
I think that's probably a lot less common than it used to be, especially now everybody's carrying a computer in their pocket, and I got computers wrapped around their wrist, but. And it's not just a computer. I had a computer when I was a kid. The computer was just there whenever I needed it for something. Now the computer that's in my pocket lets me know when it needs me.
Notifications.
Yeah, I have to remember to turn those off, and then I got to remember to turn them back on. But it's they did an update recently where it doesn't notify me every time I get an email.
Okay.
And that was like a noticeable change in my life, not hearing it ding, ding in my pocket all day.
Yeah.
No matter how many times I hit subscribe, I still get 1,000 emails a day from places, most of which I've never even been to.
Yeah.
My phone permanently stays on vibrate now. I can't name the last time I had an update about anything.
It's an important part of my job, though. I can't completely mute it because I get calls and texts around the things that I have to do at work. Things can come up. I work in a high-paced, high-pressure, high-risk environment, and we got to reach out to each other constantly. The phone's got to be on, and notifications got to be on, and it can weigh on you when you if you pull your phone out of your pocket every time it dings. That's a lot of your day spent checking something, and 900 out of 10 times it's not important.
Yeah.
That screen time is a lot of hours for a lot of people.
And I don't have social media on my phone, but most people do. So I can't even imagine every time that the notification bell went off or something, that I can't imagine pulling it out just to see somebody else's life.
Right.
I don't need to see that. I'm busy with mine.
Yeah.
And so many people are keeping track of other people's lives, and that weighs on you.
Yeah.
It weighs on you because we live in such a high-paced society now in general. It's hard enough to keep track of your own life.
Yeah. I think that brings up a pretty good point. And I like the term mental hygiene. And so I wanted to ask you two, how do you feel about mental health and what that looks like, and how important is it of understanding yourself as it pertains to mental health?
I think like self monitoring is good. Self-awareness. I think you can't really have a mental hygiene if you don't have a awareness of your state of mental health. What brings you mental energy or inspiration, what relaxes you, what is stimulating, and whether it be so like different things can affect the state of your mental health. It could be food that you eat or don't eat. It could be the time you spend indoors versus the time you spend outdoors, being more in nature, listening to the birds, You know, it could be the quality of rest you get, whether it's sleep or meditation. So I think it's really important to have an awareness of your mental health in order to build good mental hygiene habits.
You mentioned being out in nature and listening to the birds. I have to stay at a hotel for work 5 nights a week, which is tough.
Yeah.
I always have trouble sleeping the first night, maybe the first 2 nights. It's never great sleep for a lot of the week, but the first night or two are especially bad. And I actually turned on a black screen video clip that just played like nighttime animals and insects. You could hear crickets, the occasional owl in the distance. Light.
Nice. Just having to bring a little awareness there, and bringing a little nature, even if it was recorded nature or synthesized nature, kind of help, bring the mind back into balance to get rest.
It reminds you how primitive we really are. That's still something that's built into us. That's one of those things that helps our body realize it's nighttime.
Yeah.
That's good.
We're still a part of nature. I think it's easy for us to think of ourselves as humans and think of humans as being something separate from nature. Like, oh, that's not natural. That's man-made. And like, we know what we mean when we say something like that. And it's not that there's not a significance to that, but like, man has his nature too. And man's a part of nature. And like the physical bodies that we have, we're animals. We're mammals. So we still have to adhere to nature, what nature demands, whether it's like rest or feeding ourselves right.
And with mental hygiene, it may be good to think of it like any other hygiene. You build a habit to brush your teeth at all the same times. You got to brush your teeth this time. You got to, in a lot of cases, in ideal situation, you got to go to sleep at a certain time. Why not? You gotta sit down and control your breaths and think about what happened today. What about that is not important to me?
Yeah.
Because most of the things that go on around us, they don't pertain to us. They may make us angry. They might affect us on a very superficial level.
Yeah. Okay.
But most of that stuff doesn't really affect us. It doesn't really change anything in our life. And I was just thinking about how certain things don't need to take up space in our brains.
Yeah.
Like the example before of you're in traffic and you want to get over to go around a slow truck and somebody's in a much bigger hurry and they're zooming past you. You don't just whip it out there and block them off. That's not going to affect you.
Right.
Let it happen, then do your thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to affect you. It doesn't need to take up space. You don't need to think about it for a second after that.
Yeah.
It's not important to the grand scheme of things for you.
Right. And it doesn't have to be. Now if you decide to ram your car into them,
consequences.
There's consequences.
And maybe they're feeling the same way you are, and y'all are tearing the road up. Now you've made it very relevant.
Twisted metal.
Twisted metal, but it didn't have to be.
Right.
You know,
That's definitely going to hold space in your head.
yeah. At the end of the day, you know, like sitting in a cell or something for like tearing the streets up, whatever they decide to charge you with. Maybe it's you know this other nut, and you're like, man, okay. Now I got to think about where I'm at right now. but it did, and think about how it didn't have to happen that way.
Yeah.
You know. Or maybe you don't do any of that, but you're imagining yourself doing it, you know.
And now that's your environment. How does that affect your mental well-being?
Right.
Trauma.
Right.
I think you two touched on something that both of you said earlier. You mentioned our primitive nature. Then you spoke on just our natural instincts of nature. And I have this theory that when it comes to people, and we're living in this advanced society and in civilization, we're living to be civilized. A lot of people, when you're not developing that side of them, you're not developing this civilized society in them, they revert back like a domesticated animal when you send them out in the wild. I think a lot of times what's going on is when you have people who aren't privy to have maybe a parent that cares or have that circle around them, they're not developing that side of them, so they're just wild. Like they're learning how to be wild versus learning that developmental side. And so we've added all of these things, the technology, that's what they're picking up. They're picking up the music, they're picking up the culture, but they're not picking up things that develop their minds. And I feel like it's a dangerous mix. Like we're putting wild animals like in civilized situations and we expect them to behave and do things a certain way. And it's almost an impossible ask if their brains aren't being developed. And I think something like this is very important because I work with the kids. I see what they're like, and I see how their minds are and how they think. A lot of them want attention, but they don't even know how to express it. A lot of them aren't getting the attention from the parents because the parents are having to work, or they're not able to be as involved, or they're trying to make ends meet. They're living in a state of survival. And so the advancements that we've made, I feel like is making it so hard for everyone to kind of live because people are trying to survive. And sometimes the trying to survive gets in the way of developing your children and the things around you. And so I think something like what we're doing is needed. And what we're asking is we do need attention from an audience to help themselves and to help the circle and develop who we are as a people, because I don't think if we don't focus on it, it's going to continue to get worse, and people are not going to be the civilized and developed people that we need. And it's important for them. Of course, it affects everyone. Like if I'm not developed mentally, I'm going to have an impact on everyone else's life around me. But it's just as important for yourself, and I think a lot of people miss that. What you're doing, what you feed yourself, is so important, and it has to be developed at the young age. We really need to be able to express that. And so I'm thankful that we're able to have this platform, and it's going to be tough. And because what we're asking is that people take responsibility for themselves and give us that attention. Because like you said before, people give attention to all these different things. And we're going to ask the same thing. We want the attention, and we want you to pay attention to what we have going on, so that you can learn different skills and learn how to get back to yourself and have control over the things you want to do, your happiness, A lot of people don't have control over being happy, or a lot of people are in marriages and they don't even realize that they're suffering. And I feel like we're going to touch on so many different subjects that are going to bring a light to just light bulb, boom, like, wow, this is helpful.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good. I'm glad we're able to do this. So
Me too.
Oh yeah.
That brings up another point. I know we talked about it before, about mental health and the stigma that it holds in a lot of people's eyes. You say mental health, people think bad things. People might not understand mental health. They might not understand the importance of mental wellness, and that maybe them not understanding is why they push it off. It's on the back burner for them. Anybody who wants, oh no, mental health. Oh, don't talk to me about my mental health. I don't want to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
That's not important. But I feel like it, in a lot of people's eyes, it holds a stigma, and that's one of the things that we hope to accomplish here is to kind of to pull the reins in, remove the stigma, give people a platform to express themselves however they want to through us. We got several ways that you can get in touch with us. We have our website, nookandcranium.com. We have email. You can just email us straight at contact@nookandcranium.com. However you got to this podcast, there's likely a comments section. You can reach out to us in there. If it's not old at that point, we try to monitor the comments that come in and out of there. But, sometimes some stuff gets skipped. And email might be a really good way to reach out to us. Ask us questions. We'd like to touch base in every episode, whenever we get questions, and answer it. We're not professionals in this field. We are students of this field.
we're living it every day.
We want to share what we learn along the way, and we want to learn from other people. This is a passion project for us. We want to really develop, to grow from this experience. And anybody listening, I want you to grow too.
That's what it's all about.
And I think as we go on this journey, I think one of the things that and a topic that we'll touch on is vulnerability. And I think it's important that everyone really gets to see who we are. And so I feel like that's going to be, even for this first segment of just tapping into like letting people know like who we are, how we got here, and what life looks like for us.
There'll be a lot more about that later.
Yeah. And I think we'll always have those opportunities to really just introduce the audience to us as we learn more about the audience that we deal with as well.
Building a community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you'd like to see it, you can check us out on YouTube. It's at Nook and Cranium. Buy us a coffee. You can find that link on our website.
We all love coffee.
Tune in, learn with us.
Yeah.
Indubitably. And we will have merch coming, so be on the lookout for that.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be sweet. I'm looking forward to that. I really feel like I need a whole wardrobe, a hat. Socks.
Definitely want to have
a shirt, pants. Can we have pants?
Pants, shorts, the whole
Pants
nine.
are recommended.
Pants.
We are all wearing pants right now.
Nook and Cranium pants.
Thanks for joining us. Check us out next time. I'm Zach.
This is Vince.
I'm Eric.
This is Nook and Cranium.
Yes, sir.